Now let's go over a few more points about our templates. If you come to the View tab, you will see the View Templates section here. And if you open this view, you can create a new template for this open view. You can do the same thing we did with the right click here. If you open the Manage View Template section, the View Template palette opens for you. And you can create a few templates here. Now, for example, we're going to change the name of a template or duplicate a template and so on. Look here, these are all the templates we have created for this project. For example, the 3D views we put in a sheet. We created a template based on their scale, the 200, 300, or the 500. For the 3D elevations, we created a template. This template is for the 1 to 150 dimension plans. This is for the 1 to 100 dimension plans, 1 to 100 elevation, 1 to 200 elevation. For example, this is the half floors because in these floors you have to move the view range a bit and do a lot of things. The template is different from the rest of the floors. For example, here we said that this is the dimension of 1 meter. You see, this way you can make your templates. What you see here for plans, for views, for sections, for half floors, or for the 3D elevations and the 3D sections, we have created a template for all of them. For example, look here on the helipad dimension plan. This is for the last floor. This is for the helipad, which has a different template. This is for the 1 to 150 dimension plan. Even for key plans that we sometimes create, we have a template. For sections, 3D sections, here we go to the site plan, which definitely has a template because of its scale and because of its detailed display. Its template must be different. For example, this template, it's for the helipad dimension and its plans. This is for the 3D section and the helipads. This is for the WC layout, and this is the dimension of the service. And finally, you see this way, if you pay attention, we have a lot of templates here, which is clear that there are not many templates that can be used. These are only temporary templates. As you can see in the name of the first project, for example, we wrote here, wall test, this is furniture. These are temporary templates that we sometimes create during the project. For example, there was a time when we had to model the walls from scratch. I came as a project manager there. I created a template and named it Form Modeling. Well, what did I do in that template? I came and gave the walls a color. That is, I gave the walls a color from the VG to the floor. For example, a color that is very obvious, like orange, like green, so that people who are drawing the wall from that plan know where they are drawing the wall. That is, its floor should be a solid color that it's recognizable, for example, for columns, for arrows, and etc. Then created a template which was temporary. When the people were modeling, they gave this template to their desks, and after they finished their work, we went back to these templates that we had created. That is, when we entered the drawing phase, we released the template, and the point is that the people were working on a series of plans that were in the WIP contract. We talked about the WIP contract with each other. We usually have a series of WIP contracts in the project browser. And first plans, or the plans that we are working on, are in a contract. Those plans usually never go into the sheet. They are duplicated. And in fact, each series of columns is made from that floor, and those plans go to the sheet. The WIP plans never go to the sheet. They are for our work, so they can always have a temporary template on them. Templates that are not really supposed to be used for presentation. They are for our work. They are for our purpose of our work. This is always one of the topics. You can also define a series of templates for the purpose of work. I will give another example so that it will be more convenient for you. In one of our projects, I have a bathroom here. We had a hotel project. Well, there was a bathroom for Baku, and the topic was that the building and the facilities had a lot of clashes. And we realized that many of the bathrooms we have created and put on there were on the arrows. And the project was a very big project. It was very big. There was about 25 floors of this tower, and each of these floors we had a bathroom. And one of our tasks as the part of the BIM of that project, as a part of the BIM team of that project, was to announce these clashes to them. What I did was I came and made a template in the same WIP plans. I changed the view range. I gave it a little bottom to see the arrows below, and I gave the arrows a color in the VG. And then I came and checked like this because the arrows were clear here. I also turned off the floors. The arrows were completely clear. In fact, everything was off. There was only the arrows. In fact, this bathroom, whenever I saw that it was on arrows, I would take a look at it. Then I announced it that we have a problem here. This problem should be eliminated. So what did I do? I didn't go to those 26 floors. I opened the VG floor one by one from here. Then I came and said, well, I'm going to give this arrow a color. Let's turn off the walls, for example. Let's turn off the doors. No, I didn't do that. In one of the floors I did it. I made a template from it. I named it for check, and I gave the rest of the plans. When my work was done, I would get out of the situation. This can be also done from this topic. In the course of your work, you can also describe a series of temporary templates and use it. The next benefit is that when we come to a series of templates and assign them to these views, those who are working on this view, these are views that we're going to be in the sheet. These are the overall dimension plans. Suppose I'm working on the first floor. As a result of this, I would get to the point where, for example, the doors should be rough, or for example, the walls are supposed to be changed, or a solid color or anything. If I want to change something, be sure to coordinate with your project manager before that. I'm going to do this in the template. It's okay once you get the code from it. You can open the template here. Go to VG and do what you want from here. This template palette that opens is actually a set of different VGs. Whether you open one, you get access to all of the VGs. These are the items that are here. You can change them from here. One thing that exists here is that suppose, for example, I don't want any of these items to be controllable from the template. Suppose, for example, I say that the scale of the dimension plans should not be in this template. Or maybe, for example, for a reason, what can you do? Each of these items, this side of them, has a column called include. What does that mean? Does this item also becomes a part of the template or not? If I remove a piece of the scale and I click on OK, what happens? The scale removed from my template, it means that the scale is no longer controllable from this template. It is controllable as an item. So look at this here. It opened. These are still off. I didn't remove them from the template, but do you see this? I can change it from here. I can put it on the 1 to 500. I told you this, just remember this, that if you remember it or not, usually there are some details that happen in the template. For example, you gave a parameter to this view. In fact, you created a parameter for this view. You don't want that parameter to be in the template. You will remove a piece of it, but never do this for the important items like the scale and the overall arrangement. Never manipulate or change anything in the template, because the scales are one of the most important things here that we define for a template. If you remove it from a template, nothing good will happen unless you are forced to do this in a specific project or in a specific situation. But in general, things that are under the control of template and are very important, you should not remove them from the template. In fact, defining a template like this goes under the question, why did I come to define a template? Because all views have 1 second arrangement. I can remove all of them, right? This is always one of the topics. Every parameter that this view has, that is everything that you have in the properties of this view. You can control it in the template. That is, all of these parameters come in the template. If I, for example, create a parameter for this view from this Manage tab, the parameter comes in my VG, and I can actually control whether this parameter is in the template or out of the template. I can separately control it here. So this is the complete from this template. There is another topic that is very important here. When you give a template to your views and then you want to work on this view, most of the time the template blocks your access. For example, I want to check something in this map for a minute. I open VG and say, let me turn off the floor for a minute. Then I see that I don't have access to the VG like this. If I want to turn it off, I have to go to the template and turn it off. This is not the right thing to do. What should I do instead? Most of you guys come here, take the template temporarily, put it on this, and then you can easily do your work. But you shouldn't put it on none. When you click the VG, it will not be deleted the template. If I turn on the floor here, it will not affect the template. This is okay. They come here, for example, turn off the floor, check what they want, and then give the template back to them. For example, I came here, turned off the floor, checked everything, my work is done, and I say okay. I open it again, and I assign the template I made to it. Right? But the problem here is that many times we forget to return this template to this original form. That is, I come, return the template, do my work, I forgot to assign the template again to it. And this is possible that, for example, I've been working on this view from the beginning to the end, and when I close the template, a lot of bad things will happen in the project. In this floor, for example, and this is not a good thing, this is not a good method. Revit has given you a capability that I think it's a lot better, that without turning off the template and putting on the none, you can actually put the template aside for a minute and assign it to the VG. Do your work, and when you're done, put another template on it. Its name is temporary template. Where should I get it from? You see this bottom in this section, temporarily view properties. What I'm telling you is that it's actually a temporary template. It's a temporary thing. Like, for example, when you temporarily hide something, it shows you a blue frame around it. That's actually temporary. You temporarily hide something and you come back to it. It's very different from this is actually a temporary template for you to do your work and then get it out of the state. So where can I get it from? From this bottom here. You see there's a temporarily view properties. When I open this, here I have enable temporarily view properties. When I click on this here, what happens? Something comes to me just like of the topic, the temporary hide, so on. Well, look here. It says temporarily view properties. So that means it's a temporary thing and it comes back. What happens now? You see it's turned off here. Temporarily, it turns off. So look, it doesn't have a view for it. Temporarily, it just turns it off. Now, if I click on VG here, you see that I have access to it. Because I activated a temporary property, which is a temporary, for example, I come here. Now that you can see it, I turn off the walls. Well, I do my work. I do a number of things I want to do. I do the checks that I want to do here. Now I want to go back. I did my work, it's done. I come here again, I click on Restore View Properties. What happens? it goes out of the temporary state and the view template is back in place. As you can see, the walls are back. So what does this state do? It has a temporary deactiveness. This template you gave this view to and allows you to have a temporary template and do your work. In fact, you have a temporary property, the arrangements you want to make in a VG, you want to create filters, you want to turn off something, you want to change the color of something, you do these. And then you deactivate the state and the template is back in place. This is a very different from the first method I told you about, because in the first method we have to remember to turn the template on again. Why? I come here and click on Restore View Properties, I do my work, and I OK it. I click on Restore View Properties and specify the template. What happens? I come here and use the temporary view property state. This is very useful for you. It really comes in handy in a project when you are working and your view have templates. This feature comes in handy. I suggest you make sure to use this in a project so that it doesn't get stuck in your views. For example, it shouldn't get stuck in a view without a template. This is always one of the topics. So we got to know what a template is, what it does, why we should use a template, how we can make a template, and we also learned a few things about the templates here.